I would like to start here with a question to Mr. Ashish Khare. Sir, when our dear Prime Minister tells us to be Atmanirbhar, I think we have been forced to be Atmanirbhar for many years. I remember on one assignment, Mr. Harvinder Pal Singh asked me to go and study the security of a hotel in Dubai because we were planning, designing a similar property here. And I went there and I went through the property up and down, and it was probably 70-story tallest hotel in the world. And after going up and down and here and there, I saw some cameras and other things, and then I went to the security officer. I said, I would like to see where are your baggage scanners. So he said, our baggage scanners are at the airport. So while in other countries, the hotels are not expected to have baggage scanners, because once you have entered the country, you are sanitized. So your security has sanitized you, and once you are in the country, then you are unable to gather what it could take to blow up a building. So that is our Atmanirbhar status in India. Here we have to secure every building. We have to put multiple baggage scanners in every property. And those 5 crores which you were saying would not be spent in other developed countries. Similarly, when we have STPs, when the government expects every commercial building to have a STP of its own, in other countries you may not require it. They will say, welcome, put your sewage in the drain, we will take it, collect it together and do it collectively. In other countries, you may not have to have a power backup. When we talk of green building, we are supposed to take that we are not going to run a DG, and if you are going to run a DG, then your marks will be deducted because you are going to pollute. But at the same time, the government does not guarantee you a uninterrupted power supply, and under these domains, we are forced to perform and earn money and give it back as a tax. So my question to you, Mr. Khare, when we talk of smart cities, it's a hard one. And you are involved in many smart city projects. Do we have any kind of a policy on not making so much Atmanirbhar that everybody has to cater for his own requirement? Does they include the common infrastructure to make the city green rather than collecting green buildings together and declaring a city green?
So let me first touch upon that Atmanirbhar part. So we are required to be Atmanirbhar because we are not in line with what other countries are, and that's population. So that's one basic issue we have, and the way population is growing, whatever plans we had, let's say 100 years back, 50 years back, 30 years back, 20 years back, and even 10 years back, they are not aligned to this growth. So unless that planning and the growth is in sync, expecting that common services will run the way they should be, is expecting too much. Now coming back to under smart cities, are we doing that as a country? Yes, there are tracks which are chosen and which are moving in that direction. I would say waste management as one good example. Were we expecting waste to be collected few years back from home on a regular basis and then getting disposed of, getting converted and recycled and all? That's a reality today in many cities. Swachh Bharat is a decent success, if we don't say it's 100% success. Take an example of the drainage system. The kind of work which is happening in many cities right now in terms of putting up drainage system which was not even there. And Bangalore is one such example which I'm observing myself. The area of electronic city where I live, only 15 to 20% had drainage. In last 5 years, 80% had drainage system. So rainwater at least is getting taken care of. Can we have a system which can take care of the STP issue at every layout or a building? that comes with multiple other problems. The BMC common STP is being planned for last 3 years. That project design and viability is becoming an issue. You know why? Because of the gradations, because of the way terrain contour levels. You would not put pumps to get all water at one common place and then treat it, right? Or waste at one common place and treat it. So many of these are practical issues we have. Is government doing everything what it can do? May not be. But is government doing something? Yes, there are steps happening and there are success in certain things. Another thing, traffic improvement. It is much more improvement in few years than it was happening earlier. Because of which, despite population growth in cities, traffic problem is, if not reducing, it's not increasing. If Delhi as a city would have grown the way it has grown and nothing would have been done from metro and other perspective, we would have been standstill now. Bangalore, we could not have moved for 5 hours in a city. Even today, when I plan from Electronic City to airport in Bangalore, based on the time I plan how much time. So it varies from 1 hour to 4 hours.
Oh.
Okay. Luckily, it has come down now from 1 hour to 2 hours now. So I don't have to plan more than 2 hours unless it's a huge heavy rain. Because rain poses a different problem in Bangalore. Two-wheeler people will stand in between wherever they find shades and add to traffic jam. Now, it's very difficult to plan.
Very well said. So I agree with that to an extent, sir. In Delhi, we have started getting many more challans because of the CCTV cameras being deployed. Yes, the things have become auto governed and people are definitely more conscious of rather than taking for granted that they will not get caught. So they have a reasonable level of responsibility which has come in. So yes, so what I understand, sir, from you is that the government definitely has, in addition to the cameras and the surveillance part, much more on the infrastructure which will make the city smarter. So coming from there, I'd like to ask Mr. Jaitley, sir. I understand that there are developers who have started thinking of smart habitation. People have started thinking of the tangible benefits of IoT passed on to the residents of the development or the occupants of development. I would like to understand from you that with your organization taking some leadership in it, what are the examples of such tangible benefits of artificial intelligence given to your occupants?
Thank you, Rajnish. I'm glad you asked me this question not first, not last, because as a developer, they don't carry an impression that they want to spend money on this and they just want to build and sell off and go off. If you would have asked me at last, I would have to keep justifying, and if you had asked me first, then I would be brooding about what we are doing. So somewhere since this whole AI and IoT thing is evolving and happening, so I'm glad that our group is also part of it. And Mr. Khare has been mentioning Electronic City. We have a project ourselves over there, Exante, and we are some way contributing to that development also. And you'll be surprised, we are doing a 400-acre township in Pune called Life Republic, and our maximum selling cost over there is, say, at this point of time, 5,200 to 5,500. Now imagine a product which sells at this price band. We did a pilot thing on a 10-acre parcel over there, and where we decided that we'll go full hog with IoT systems and everything. And it has so much impressed ourselves, as in we are trying to do it across the development of 400 acres. So what we started with is, first of all, we are getting water from at least 12 kilometers away through a jack well, and it is coming to the development. which incurs a lot of cost. For example, we are the cost is coming to about 20 rupees on a unit per basis. So what we are doing is we have divided, the external areas, the internal areas, the irrigation and all things. And I can give you brief numbers also. I don't know whether those are correct because we still have to see the final results. So what we are doing is your external lighting, your external water management, your irrigation, things are all, we have different IoT nodes for them and which will be monitored and which will be controlled. When I say external lighting, it can be the general street lights, the sector level lights, external water supply, what is coming from where it is coming, and the irrigation part of it. And same fundamentals goes for the internal, the lightings in the common areas, the parking areas, internal uses of water by individuals. Mr. Khare had mentioned that whether it can be cognitive or not. So we have not gone that scale, but definitely worth looking at that. So we have those water meters. Now, why water meters and which are being monitored is because, as I said, the cost of drawing water from a source which is far away. It is just to have people become conscious of the uses of the water. I can technically, we get 145 liters. We have been supplying more than that, but we want to make them aware. If your uses are more, or you will be charged on your uses basis. People become aware, and there is definitely saving of water. Sensors, as you mentioned, in the parking areas, it can dim out in the non-peak hours and so on and so forth. The most important thing is, when I say in the irrigation, so there is a lot of greenery which we are having, all around. So the sensor, drip irrigation, of course, the sensors see the moisture contained in the soil and what this is being little cognitive, how much water is required. So the pumping and it's timed accordingly, and it senses, and the water is not overutilized rather, and the same water can be used for washing streets, which is very rare. Because see, what happens is we design a STP, and this is always a question: what happens in the excess water during the monsoons? So in this case also, if we are using lesser water on the irrigation, if there is a saving of water which can be utilized for street washing and all those things, or even your parking lots which never get washed. So these are the features we are taking up, and on a calculation basis, if you see, somebody can correct me, but I have seen in just providing these IoT nodes, and as it is, everybody is using LED and also different sources now, different products. But providing these nodes adds up to just about 2 to 3% on a cost basis, which is where the developer would think, which is not much, and we expect the turnaround or the return on investment in 3 to 5 years time, depending upon how it is being used. As I said, these numbers are still to be verified at our end also, but these are the paper calculations for what we still have on this. And we have calculated you can cut down on the electric uses by just over 35 to 40%. On irrigation, you can save over 25%, and so on and so forth.
Amazing. So I think what I get from Jaitley sir is that, one, you are deploying more sensors and collecting more information, and then also passing this information to the people who are occupying that building and telling them which way are they headed. So I think I agree with you, sir, there, because I have also gone through some case studies where just sharing the energy consumption or the water consumption with the residents. Suppose you got 5 towers, and just because you tell that each tower consumes this much this month, the next month those who consume more will be conscious of using lesser water. And similarly, electricity. In my house, I keep telling my children, switch off the lights, switch off the lights. Ultimately, I am the only person switching off the extra lights because I have to pay that bill every month. So I think when it comes to doing that, definitely information is very important, because once you have a figure which is there on the board and you have to beat it, that goes to your advantage. And I think as more developers take this lead, it will be definitely a 2 to 3% cost is hardly something which and today with the kind of pricing we see in Delhi or Mumbai, I think much more is spent on your luxuries and your Italian marble. Not to say that they are not required; they are definitely required. But then 2% doesn't make a.
But imagine, for a developer which sells at 5,000 odd rupees, this is something definitely extra.
I agree, sir, and I think that's commendable, because in Delhi, even if you spend 10,000 rupees a square feet, you may not get this. If you're getting this in 5,000 rupees in Pune, I think. Added question to this, I'll go back to Khare sir, because this is a chain which I like to build upon. Sir, BMS versus IoT. This new animal called IoT. How is it different than BMS, and what are the advantages of it that you can see? Is it going to replace BMS?
Why are we talking about BMS versus IoT? It is BMS and IoT.
And how do they go together?
Because what BMS does, it does, and it does well. How do we add that IoT layer and then get a higher intelligence and management is the key.
Okay.
Because if we are talking about, say, HVAC management, right? HVAC anyway is managed well by BMS. What extra information we can collect using IoT sensors and put it on a AI-enabled IoT platform and then manage building better is what we need to look at IoT for. And like occupancy sensing is one such thing that by default doesn't go and sit in on BMS. Yes. By default occupancy sensing you have to do somewhere else. So those kinds of things, integrating multiple systems within the building and then getting that intelligence and move on to the digital twin aspect. So building twin is something which is becoming real. It's beyond BIM also. So while BIM does a lot of value add, but building twin is, or digital twin of a building, is all about running buildings autonomously, making them cognitive in the longer run, having not only just 3D model, but all the data with real-time assessment, health monitoring, and operations done on that model. Why do we need an engineer to go and identify what is the problem? It should be visible, and he should be told that go there, change this thing, and done. If it is actual for hardware failure. Otherwise, if it is configuration or change in some operations, do it remotely. We are doing similar thing with one of the builder or rather construction and facilities company in UK called Skanska. And the way their buildings are managed, it's changed completely. And incremental cost is minuscule. ROI is less than 2 years because they save on facilities cost, but facilities management cost.
So, are we looking at distributed analysis and like in DDC controllers, we used to have DDC controllers linked up through kilometers of wiring, then going to a processor where the things were analyzed. Are we looking at some kind of optimization on that because of the sensors being Wi-Fi driven?
Edge AI is the key. If we want data to be collected centrally and then analyzed, we are basically wasting in multiple ways. One, we are wasting on creating data highways. Second, we are wasting in creating unnecessary storage. And then that 60% data not being looked at will actually continue. Data should be analyzed at source as much as possible. And only relevant data should travel, which means requirement of the data which need to travel comes down, the storage comes down, and then effective analysis to be done. Second thing, when data is analyzed at source, if some action is local, it can be taken there itself. Every data analytics outcome is not related to other systems. Some are, some are. And if we see a typical distribution in a building, 70% of decisions can be taken on that system itself.
On the loop.
on local itself. For 30%, yes, integration between access control, CCTV, fire, lighting, all that plays a role, and that plays a real value-added role. But why should we get that balance 70% for that 30% benefit? Let's get 30% for that 30% benefit.
Wonderful, sir. So that answers my question very well, that we need to relook at the traditional design which you have been doing, that put sensors, draw all the data to a central location, then do it, then send the instruction back. So going here, you're talking of data. So Puneet sir, you are the person who has to help us here. When we talk of getting data collected, and then we are talking of smart cities where data is being shared and the data goes out of the building and the outside world talks to the building. How do you see this threat of which people can say that the data can be taken away, can be used, misused? How do you see that affecting your security of the project?
Well, okay, so we're linking two things here. So first, if you heard the presentation that we had, we're sitting in one of the currently most intelligent buildings or infrastructure that we have. Now you're linking that to a smart city, and then you're linking it to intelligent buildings, right? So where is the future coming in? So data per se is going to be the next gold, silver, platinum, whatever you may call it. Process data, as Mr. Khare was saying, right? Just garbage in, garbage out doesn't help us, will not help us. So process data is going to be where the real money lies for us in the future. And it is all going to be processed, is what we look at it from our technology standpoint going forward. So technology will play a huge role, right? Let's reverse back a little and go 10 years back. We were all very manual. We used to do things manually. Today we are ruled by what? A mobile phone, right? Our world revolves around a mobile phone. If we don't have it for half an hour, you're lost. You're literally lost, right? And that's exactly the case which is going to be with the intelligent buildings and how we will be processing it for a smart city. Quite a few people here, but anybody has seen Terminator? Skynet? Anybody remembers Skynet? So what was the single point of failure for Skynet, right? Technology, just one single point of failure was found out and it all went through. That's not how we would like to run it, or we see the future with it, right? So technology will drive it, but the single point of failure will not be technology, but will be offset by a human control or another overriding control that we will have for the data, right? So data will be shared, and a smart intelligent building will share the data with the smart city. The smart city will share it further with the government, but it will be processed data sets which will keep going out, right? And if you don't have that, that's not how things will work in the future. So maybe 5 years, 7 years, 10 years down the line, we don't know, but these changes will come through, right? And I keep going back to a very old example. In the 1800s, New York City was primarily driven by carts, right? It was a horse cart that used to do, and in 3 years it got transformed to motor vehicles. The transition for us from this current position to getting transition to using data and controlling data and all linked through technology is going to be much shorter. So I don't know whether it's going to be 3 years or 5 years, but sooner or later everything will be controlled through that one single standpoint, and it will be seamless. It will walk through without too much of storage. There will be storage. So right now what we are doing is we are creating a lot of storage, and therefore the cost of storage will further come down, and only processed data will be shared. So I think going forward from a standpoint, intelligent buildings will feed into intelligent smart cities. Smart cities will continue to play a major role, but it will primarily have to start as a hub of having intelligent buildings, which are AI and data driven, right? So a lot of times when you walk in and walk out, and we were just talking about the Israel example, what do you think that guy is doing at the counter? He actually has your information being already processed, because the minute your flight takes off, their artificial intelligence engine is running and seeing, okay, what does a PAR do? Where does he hail from? What does he do? What are the attributes? Whereas if been in the last few days, what has been his medical condition? That's what they know, right? They walk in, you're walking out. On the other side, if you're a fresh entrance and there's no, I would say no profile available for you, you will be questioned more. So that's where I'm saying that data plays an important role with technology running the processes, and that's where the future is going to be. So even for this building, right, we say it's an intelligence building when it's built on multiple sources who are talking to each other. And to answer to Sandeep's earlier question as well, Sandeep, fire and security solutions put together are already working in tandem. I think it's just that in our minds we've segmented them differently and compartmentalized differently. But there is just about talking to each other, and that's where the future primarily will be.
Not to be in silos, sir. Because that's will actually, because we don't have a definitive roadmap to evoke the client's confidence. Even to somebody like Balaji, we will not be, we talk about it, but there's not a structured approach. So I think that is what it is.
Correct. And the fear of sharing data, but I'm telling you, slowly and steadily this data will automatically be available. You will be surprised to see what comes out to you from the outside. And therefore, correct. And it's fine.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is, sir, that like you have credit ratings, you'll have credibility ratings also. So whether you are going into a hotel or you are going into a pub or in a country, so you will be given a validated score, and probably that could be the risk, because the people who are going to attack Mr. Pal would like to probably
If you go to US, you have got a global entry pass and you have a TSA pre-check which is there, and if you have applied for it and they have done your background screenings and everything, all your history checked, you don't need to do anything. You just pass through the terminal, you don't even stop.
So my question to you, the counter question, now that ball has come into your court, that why isn't a clean guy more prone to being taken as a terrorist attack? Because the people who want to disrupt your security, wouldn't they like to pick up a clean guy to do a job rather than a history sheeter?
So let me tell you one thing. You can take any of the attack histories. Majority of the attacks have been done by clean guys only.
That's what I was
Planning is done by them.
Yeah.
So you do not, by doing a TSA pre-check or having these kind of programs in place, only is an advantage for majority of 90% of your people. 10% of that will still be there, and for that you have to have systems and processes, and you need to have tools in place to do those checks, and that's where your other tool comes in, is profiling. 50% of people will do things in the right manner. Let me tell you, how many times do you travel with a 9-volt battery to a hotel?
9-volt battery.
Yes. You may travel with a AAA or AA, 9-volt battery.
Not too often.
Not too often. You will never. Never. And if in my X-ray screening I am able to see somebody having a 9-volt, my antenna should go up. What does he do? Is he an engineer? Why does he need a 9-volt? Majority of IEDs are blown up with 9-volt battery. You can take all bomb data centers analysis, and it's 9-volt battery. Yes. Yes. So that is where you need to start taking the security to next level. Is to train people, have, like Puneet said, data. That's a data. So the moment you see somebody having 9-volt, you tell the security guy. Hey, listen, Mr. Pal has checked in with 9-volt battery. Okay, let's do a profiling. Where does he work? What is his profession? Okay, fair call. He is probably not an engineer. So then you start putting him on surveillance to see where is he going. How much time is he spending in lobby to sketch or write the movement of security and the people? What kind of question is he asking?
So put him under scanner.
Absolutely. You need to start gathering intel about him.
Wonderful. So
you don't need to do it. You process driven. That is where your layer comes in place. Your process and your intel layer.
that is a man-machine connect.
Yes. I understand IoTs and putting everything. Sir said that don't have man. You need man certain places. You need man for responses. You need man to think. Machine can think, will give you data, but not necessarily that will be 100% foolproof data. Somebody needs to analyze it.
Very well said, sir. So one more question that I wanted to ask you during your presentation, you mentioned something about the CCTV audit. How does that help? Can you educate our audience here that how does it work practically in the premises which you secure?
Okay. So CCTV audit is basically nothing else but you keep on looking at your data, systems to see they are all healthy. One, all cameras are working. If there is somebody which has gone down, you need to immediately make sure that you are raising a ticket to get them fixed. And till the time it's not fixed, it is being monitored at least by somebody. It is critically important because, major time if your camera is down, some incident happen, you will not be able to do any investigation. So what is the use of having that camera? And at many places, I have seen a lot of shops, they, to save cost, 2 cameras asli, baki sab dummy.
Dummy cameras.
So what's the use of having that dummy? Because it's not necessarily psyche. If I'm a security professional, I'll be able to identify which is dummy and which is working. So it is very, very important to do audits, not just on the CCTV. Do your audit of your access control. Do your audit of your barriers. Most of the time I see on the tolls, which is now mandated कि भैया अपने आप उठेगा आपका read करके FASTag, वो आधे टाइम तो उठता ही नहीं बेचारा. Because nobody has added it. Then somebody will come from there, will bring a लोहे का फट्टी, put it there. Oh, now it's working. Because nobody has tested the sensor, which is the entry sensor of the barrier and the exit sensor of the barrier, that whether it is working. And these sensors will change their dynamics based on heat, based on wind pressure, based on even your length. आप walk-through metal detector लगा दो. If you have done the testing of it during the day and during the night, the sensitivity will be totally different. Because your magnetic, field gets affected by your weather. So you have to test them on a regular basis with a test piece to make sure that they are working accurate. आप CISF वालों के पास से क्रॉस करते हो, वो अपना वॉक थ्रू हर बार अपने यहाँ पे क्यों लगाते हैं? हैंड एक्ट to check and recalibrate. That's audit.
So I think we are already above our time limits, much higher. So anybody has any questions for the panel? The lady has a question.
वो मेरे नहीं है. जल्दी मेरे ऊपर ही गिरता है.
Hi, the session has been really great today and I attended it from the very start. Rajnish sir, you introduced smart buildings and intelligent buildings. I am currently a working professional in building services MEP. I've been training since last 1 year in the HVAC industry. And my question to you is that since I like to look at it from this perspective, that MEP is like you perceive buildings as a human body. Then we can say that the architecture is the skin.
Correct.
We can say that the structural is the bones, and we say that the building services is all of the rest of the organs, say the nervous system, circulatory system, digestive system. So humans, we have a tendency to consume. We consume water, we consume air, and thinking from the perspective of IoT and AI, we are looking at a future wherein we want to create better buildings and better so we want to create a better buildings. What about the fact that the climate change that is coming, that is ongoing right now? We have pollution, global warming, all of that taking place in today's present day. What if we think about the buildings instead of human beings as plants? So instead of just focusing on, say, indoor air quality, can we integrate IoT and AI to also improve the outdoor air quality, so that in turn in the future that outdoor air can also be used to promote the indoor air quality?
So to this point, I
You would like
mention, I forgot to mention, in our township we are also doing this, because this is a township which is under construction. Few people will start staying, they are already staying, so we are also monitoring the outdoor air quality and all, and doing the remedial measures for that. So to your point, building not as a human but as a plant, and it should not deteriorate from outside, and also what goes inside the apartments goes better. So that part is being taken care of.
So I think not only the air quality, when you create a building, the architects, the landscape designers, they all work together to provide a better microclimate around the building itself. So if you have, if you look at example like Gurgaon, it's all concrete and paved surfaces. So you would see that all the glazings of the buildings will reflect the heat on each other. The paved surfaces will continue to add heat to the entire biodiversity there in the whole area. So it is not only our job to secure the indoor, but also to secure the exterior, because otherwise you will never have that kind of a green environment around your building. So you're very correct in saying that, yes, we do compare buildings with humans. We may look at it with the plants also, but why humans? Because plants, unlike humans, plants do not harm the environment. The humans sometimes may. So when you're talking of IoT, which was the session today, we can only say that IoT is like adding brain to a human body, so that the human body can express itself, its own requirements and remedies which it wants, and it can communicate better outdoor and within itself. So that's all about creating intelligence. The brain was a missing part. Everything else was done. The services were, MEP was inside, the structure was inside, the skin was the architecture. So probably the brain is being added now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.